I'm asking
No. You don't ask me nothing.
$2.25 million.
Get out.
Are we the only community that does fraud?
How come they said this building was closed? Do you guys know where advanced mobility is?
Advanced mobility?
Yeah, we're looking for it. Never heard of it?
They know we're shining the light on the fraud, and they have no defense.
Would you like to see anybody in the government here held accountable?
Most definitely, because there can definitely be an allocation of funds.
The Minnesota fraud scandal continues to get worse and worse as billions of dollars of fraud has been exposed, and as I showed the world the blatant fraud taking place at daycares and other locations across Minnesota, it became the most viewed video expose on the internet.
It tied directly into one of the largest fraud cases in United States history.
Instead of feeding the children, they, decided to buy a beach property in Kenya with American taxpaying dollars.
In certain counties around the state, they were reporting that we're feeding more kids per day than the number of people that lived in the county.
They paid $800 million for zero work to be done.
From 2022 to 2024, $150 million is completely untracked.
Places like this shouldn't be receiving $4 million of taxpayers' money to say that they create rockets in places like this.
There's all of this land in West LA that is, by law, supposed to go to housing veterans, except now they're making billions of dollars leasing it out to rich elites and mega corporations.
It's the color of our skin. Not that they've been stealing millions and billions of dollars from taxpayers' money. Literally might as well be pickpocketing the entire American country. Nope, not that. It's the color of your skin. How did you know? Am I that obvious, dog? Damn, I thought I was a little bit slicker. Like, are we kidding? Oh my God, I cannot believe it. You think I'm lying too. Watch. Here, check it out. I'll show you. Hey y'all, welcome back. My name's Katie. This is Dark Side of the Truth, and we're now friends.
Did we just become best friends? Yep!
Today, we're diving deep into a story that's been exploding across America. One that starts in Minnesota, but exposes a much larger web of alleged corruption involving taxpayer dollars, non-governmental organizations, and a system ripe for abuse. This isn't about politics or partisanship. It's about accountability and how your hard-earned money might be vanishing into the wrong hands while nobody's watching. Let's break it down step by step, because once you see the blueprint, you can't unsee it. This video is made strictly for informational and educational purposes only. All claims discussed are based on publicly available records, reporting, court filings, and allegations made by investigators and independent journalists. Nothing in this video should be taken as a statement of guilt. Individuals and organizations mentioned are presumed innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law. I will simply be sharing my own personal opinions, speculation, and the facts of the case. However, I am going to filter them through my own view and then give my take on it. So at the end of the day, it's not 100% factual. It's my take on the facts, right? So if you want to know the actual truth of the matter and hear this stuff for yourself and do your own research, which I always suggest, then please take the time to look into this for yourself. I'm not trying to, spread my opinions or try to tell you what to believe in. That's not what I'm trying to do. I simply saw this topic in particular going mega viral recently, and I wanted to take a beat and fully, do a deep dive into this topic of fraud that's happening on American taxpayer dollars, so that you have a better understanding of what exactly is going on when you're seeing these clips go mega viral, because it seems like every day we're seeing new clips. And it is a rather confusing topic, if you will. It's, people don't really know that much about the ins and outs of government and how the taxpayer dollar works and all that stuff. To be fair, they don't teach you that, and it is rather boring. So I just wanted to give you a quick deep dive so you have a better understanding of, what is actually going on and how they are actually taking our money, through the taxpayer dollars, through the NGOs, through the fraud, how they're doing it. So that next time you see these clips go viral, you know what they're talking about. And you know exactly how it was carried out. I want to give you guys a quick heads up before we get started. I've been dealing with some pretty bad TMJ or TMD pain from me grinding my teeth at night when I sleep, something I've done my whole life. And unfortunately, at this very moment, and for the past, 4 or 5 days, the muscle on the right side of my face that connects my top and bottom jaw is really inflamed. And talking has been really painful. So if I sound a little off, or I'm uninterested or being short in this video, that's not the case at all. It's just hard for me to like comfortably talk right now. So there might be some parts of this video that I sound a little off in. And if that is the case, I wanted to go ahead and not only let you know ahead of time, but pre-apologize for that. Please just don't read like too deeply into how I sound in this video. That's the only thing I ask. Thank you guys so much for understanding. And let me just thank you ahead of time for all your love and concern and like getting well wishes that you're going to send me, because I already know that you're going to, because this community is amazing. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. I love you all. Now, before we fully get into it, do me a favor and smash the hell out of the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, come on over and get subscribed to the channel, and make sure you hit that little bell icon. So hopefully, fingers crossed, you'll get notified whenever I upload new videos just like this. But with that being said, let's get into it. Roll the intro.
They live, we sleep, the alarms going off, beep beep. Time to wake up to the deceit. Our whole reality's made up by the elite.
Let's quickly ground this with what actually came out of Minnesota, because that, my friends, is where the dominoes like really started falling. Late last year, like late 2025. Independent YouTuber, who I'm sure you all know, Nick Shirley, posted a short video that ended up going like stupid mega viral. In it, he walked up to several licensed childcare centers in Minneapolis that were receiving millions in state and federal funds through Minnesota's Child Care Assistance Program. What he found raised eyebrows. Some of the buildings appeared empty during business hours. Locals told him that they rarely saw children or staff. Then he pulled up public records showing massive payments tied to those locations anyways, regardless of the fact that nobody seems to ever be there. Now that clip exploded, and I'm sure most of you have seen it. I'm talking pulling in like well over 130 million views. Like stupid mega viral. Rightfully so. And it immediately triggered federal reviews, temporary funding freezes, and renewed scrutiny of Minnesota's oversight systems. Which, like, thank God. Now get this. State officials later claimed inspections didn't confirm fraud at every site shown. But by that point, the spotlight was already on something much bigger. Because, as much as I hate to admit it, this wasn't new. It tied directly into one of the largest fraud cases in United States history, the Feeding Our Future scandal. Now, for those of you who don't know, that nonprofit was supposed to distribute federal money to feed children during the pandemic of 2020. Instead, prosecutors allege participants submitted fake invoices and inflated meal counts, ultimately pocketing as much as $250 million of taxpayer money, while you and I can't even make ends meet, feed our kids, or pay our bills. And now, as early as 2026, 78 people have officially been charged. Dozens have been convicted. And the organization's founder, Amy Bach, was ordered to forfeit millions in cash and luxury assets.
I just went down the never-ending rabbit hole of the Feeding Our Future scandal. I'm going to show you a couple things, including a certain senator speaking at an event that, let's just say, did not age well.
It's a struggle for people to go against the government, and you don't do that. But right now, it's just not all of you. You got government fighting government too. I'm part of government, right? So you got government fighting government right now.
Stay with me. This one's going to be a long ride. Meet Amy Bach and Saeem Saeed, the duo that turned a program to help children get fed over COVID into the largest COVID fraud in America. And clearly it didn't end well because they were found guilty. Amy Bach was the founder of Feeding Our Future. It was a nonprofit that was supposed to feed the future. Well, over COVID, it received nearly $200 million. Now, as part of the scheme, Feeding Our Future employees recruited individuals and entities to open federal child nutrition program sites. They also created dozens of shell companies to enroll the program. And one of the food sites that was being used as fraud, instead of feeding the children, they decided to buy a beach property in Kenya with American taxpaying dollars. Now, one of her employees, this person right here, I cannot pronounce that name. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name. He would solicit and receive bribes and kickbacks. One of the couples that owned one of the restaurants that was stole over $5 million decided to plead guilty to try to get a more lenient sentence. So they testified against Amy Bach, and said that her employee, this guy right here, would come to their restaurant to pick up $30,000 in cash for kickbacks every month, and said that during each of these visits, he would contact Amy Bach via FaceTime, and Bach would confirm the payments. That same employee, he fled to Somalia 2 months before the FBI raids. So he's not, where is he? He's still gone. I can't find anything showing me that they have been able to find him. So he is in Somalia somewhere. And by the way, he was charged in this as well. So I guess you could call him a fugitive. Feeding Our Future would receive not only just kickbacks, they would also receive administration fees and basically report it as consulting fees. So they would submit fake attendance records and names. For example, one roster was created using names from a website called www.listofrandomnames.com. Okay, so here's the kicker. So when the MDE employees pressed Amy Bach for clarification of some of this fraud, it got flagged, okay, because it was in fact fraud. Amy Bach accused MDE of discrimination and unfairly scrutinizing the Feeding Our Future's sites. And Feeding Our Future filed a lawsuit against them, accusing MDE of denying the site applications due to discrimination in violation of the Minnesota Human Rights Act. Seems like they're using the same game plan and tactics for the daycares in Minnesota. So let's be aware of that. Who's getting the kickbacks from the daycares? That's what I want to know. So this is Senator Omar Fateh right here. Okay, this is Amy Bach at an event where he is speaking and he is thanking Amy Bach. He also mentions talking to the governor and the governor saying that there is no fraud.
My name is Omar Fateh. I'm the state senator for District 62, which is in South Minneapolis. I want to thank first all of you for sticking together, for working together, for fighting. And I want to thank also Amy and her team, Feeding Our Future, for making this first court victory a reality. Speaking out about the stop payments, the money that was being stopped from your reimbursements. And I had Dawson immediately take a picture of what was going on, and we emailed it out to the governor's office saying, there's a whole lot of folks that are being affected right now. And literally within minutes, it was a Friday afternoon that happened, within minutes they emailed us back saying, let's meet Monday morning. And we asked very directly, was there any evidence of fraud? Was there any concerns or suspicions? And they told us that there was zero evidence, nothing was there. So to us, that was immoral, what was going on.
That video did not age well, and it made me very suspicious if he himself were getting kickbacks. So I dug further into him. I found this blog article from Ben Eisen, who works for the Wall Street Journal. And it says that there have been reports that Omar Fateh has strong ties to local gangs responsible for laundering millions in rug money to Somalia. Apparently, he was trying to run for mayor as well, and 2 of his opponents dropped out of the race, allegedly due to either threats from his associates or bribes, allegedly. And from the same article, it says that his net worth is $6.1 million. You get that for being a senator?
Feeding Our Future was the name of a shell business that was created in Minnesota in 2019 to take advantage of federal and state funds to feed hungry children. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit in March of 2020, the Feeding Our Future people went crazy, taking money from the federal government, from the state government to feed phantom kids. All right, upwards of $300 million from federal and state programs to allegedly feed millions of kids. In certain counties around the state, they were reporting that we're feeding more kids per day than the number of people that lived in the county. So in one of the northern Minnesota counties has a population of about 4,500 people. The Feeding Our Future people were claiming to be feeding 5,000 kids a day in and day out. The allegation now is that substantial amounts of this money have been shipped back to Somalia and now is being siphoned off by terrorist organizations in northern and eastern Africa.
Of the Somali-owned daycares featured in Nick Shirley's viral YouTube video, 2 of the closed and 5 of the active centers received money from Feeding Our Future, the nonprofit at the center of a pandemic-era fraud scheme that cost taxpayers more than $300 million. The connection first noted by the Minnesota Star Tribune. According to the data I've collected over the past 5 years, those 7 daycare centers received $6.3 million from Feeding Our Future, claiming to serve 2.8 million meals to kids from 2018 to 2021. One example, you can see from my numbers, Minnesota Best Childcare Center on 17th Avenue in Minneapolis claimed to serve 43,000 meals in 2018, 99,000 in 2019, 67,000 in 2020, and then suddenly nearly 492,000 in 2021. None of these daycares have been charged in the Feeding Our Future fraud case, and they haven't been formally accused of daycare fraud either.
But it didn't stop there. Investigations expanded into Medicaid programs serving the disabled and the elderly, where authorities estimate potentially more than half of the $18 million that has been paid out to them since 2018 may have been misused across daycare services, housing stabilization, and autism care. Nick Shirley later followed up with claims involving transportation companies, alleging tens of millions of dollars more in questionable payments tied to providers that may not even officially exist. Trains that apparently have had millions of dollars of funding given to them to build this train, yet they have not laid a single piece of track.
$128 billion. That is the current estimated cost of California's high-speed rail project, a project that was supposed to cost $33 billion. It was supposed to be finished by 2020. It is now 2026. After 17 years of construction and $15 billion spent, not a single mile of high-speed track has been laid. The Federal Railroad Administration just released a 300-page report with a devastating conclusion. There is no viable path forward. This is the story of what may be the most expensive infrastructure failure in American history. And the federal government just pulled the plug. To understand how California ended up here, you have to go back to 2008. That year, California voters went to the polls and approved Proposition 1A, the Safe, Reliable, High-Speed Passenger Train Bond Act for the 21st century. The promise was extraordinary. A bullet train connecting San Francisco to Los Angeles in just 2 hours and 40 minutes, speeds up to 220 miles per hour. The first true high-speed rail system in the United States. The total cost presented to voters was $33 billion. The state was asking for $9.95 billion in bond money as seed funding. Private investors and federal grants would cover the rest. Voters said yes. 53% approved the measure. California was going to build something truly transformational. But here is what voters did not know. The business plan required to be submitted to the legislature by September 2008 was not actually released until after the election. And when independent analysts later reviewed that plan, they found it was missing critical information. No statistics on train capacity, no forecasts of segment service levels, no clear explanation of how funds would be secured, no expected completion dates, no discussion of how risks would be mitigated. In other words, California voters approved nearly $10 billion in bonds for a dream, not a vetted project. Construction officially began in January 2015 with a groundbreaking ceremony in Fresno. At that point, the project was already years behind the original schedule, and the cost estimates had already started climbing. The plan was to build the first segment through the Central Valley, connecting Merced in the north to Bakersfield in the south. This was chosen partly because the flat agricultural land would be easier to build on than the mountainous terrain near San Francisco or Los Angeles. Federal stimulus money from the Obama administration required construction to begin in this region. But even in the supposedly easy Central Valley, problems multiplied. Land acquisition became a nightmare. The state needed to purchase thousands of parcels from farmers and property owners. Many refused to sell. Legal battles dragged on for years. Some property owners waited years to receive payment even after agreeing to sell. Utility relocations created massive delays. Power lines, water pipes, and gas lines all needed to be moved before construction could proceed. In some areas, nearly 20% of the utility relocations had not even started, years into construction. Environmental reviews added more delays. The project had to comply with both federal and state environmental laws, and the process of obtaining all necessary clearances took far longer than anticipated. And then there were the contractors. The construction contracts became a case study in cost overruns. Construction Package 1, covering just 22 miles in the Central Valley, was initially bid at just under $1 billion. By the time it reached substantial completion in 2024, the cost had ballooned to $2.2 billion. That is more than double the original bid. Most of the increase came from delay claims and change orders. The Federal Railroad Administration's report found that change orders alone added $1.6 billion to the project in just the past 2 years. Nearly every major contract has been altered, often for tens of millions of dollars at a time. The report called this pattern evidence of poor planning, implementation, or mismanagement. Think about what that means. The state hired contractors to build specific things for specific prices. Then the state kept changing what it wanted or failed to provide what the contractors needed, and the contractors billed the state for the delays and changes again and again and again.
There's a lot I've done on the on high-speed rail. I worked with Secretary Duffy, and the reason why they pulled back that $4 billion, here's one aspect I'll give you really quickly, is there's a clause in high-speed rail called non-execution of contract, where contractors are owed $170,000 a day if there are any delays whatsoever. We've been able to find out that over $800 million has been paid out on that clause, which means they paid $800 million for zero work to be done.
Yeah, like it's everywhere. And as of now, new indictments, a new prosecutor, and congressional attention are all pushing this story forward into 2026. Which, like, yay. I'm glad somebody's talking about it. Now, before we go any further, I want to get everybody on the same page real quick by helping to clear up one key term, because it sits at, like, the center of all of this, and that is NGOs. NGO simply stands for a non-governmental organization. In plain English, it's a non-profit that isn't officially part of the government, but works with it. These groups are hired to deliver public services like feeding children, providing housing, childcare, healthcare, or even migrant assistance. The idea is that NGOs can move faster and operate more efficiently than like a massive government agency that has like a ton of oversight. But sometimes oversight is a good thing, because too much unchecked power leads to instances like this. In theory, they're helpers. In reality, they often become the middlemen, and middlemen create blind spots.
Basically, the government-funded NGOs are a way to do things that would be illegal if they were the government, but are somehow made legal if it's sent to a so-called nonprofit. But these nonprofits are then used to, people cash out these nonprofits. They become very wealthy through nonprofits. They pay themselves enormous sums through these nonprofits.
It's so insane that that's been going on for so long.
It's a gigantic scam. Like one of the biggest, maybe the biggest scam ever.
And how many NGOs?
I think there's a total number of NGOs, probably millions, but in terms of large NGOs, tens of thousands. I mean, it's actually it's kind of a hack to the system where someone can get an NGO stood up for a fairly small amount of money. Like George Soros was really good at this. Like George Soros is like a system hacker. Like he figured out how to hack the system. He's a genius at arbitrage. I mean, these days he's pretty old, but a genius at arbitrage. So he figured out that you could leverage a small amount of money to create a nonprofit, then lobby the politicians to send a ton of money to that nonprofit, so you can take what might be, a $10 million donation to a nonprofit to create a nonprofit and leverage that into $1 billion NGO. And a nonprofit is a weird word. It's just a non-governmental organization. And then the government continues to fund that every year. And it'll have a nice sounding name, like the Institute for Peace or something like that. But really, it's a graft machine.
And what are the requirements with that money? What do they have to do?
Just really no requirements at all.
So they just get grants and the government just assumes that they're doing good work?
I think a lot of people in the government know that they're not doing good work. But it's a giant graft machine.
One of the biggest scam fraud holes we've uncovered, which is really crazy, is that the government can give money to a so-called nonprofit with very few controls, and then there's no auditing subsequently of that nonprofit. So there's no. So this is where with the 1.9 billion Stacey Abrams, they then give themselves extremely lavish, like insane salaries, expense everything to the nonprofit. Buy jets and homes and all sorts of things.
Live like kings and queens.
Yes.
On the taxpayer dime.
Correct.
You mentioned...
And this is happening at scale. It's not just one or two. We're seeing this everywhere.
Here's how the money is supposed to flow. When they originally put this into place, this is how they designed it to operate, or wanted it to operate. It was supposed to start with you, and actually still does, the taxpayer. Federal dollars move into agencies like the USDA for food programs, HHS for healthcare and childcare, or HUD for housing. Those agencies then send billions to states or directly to NGOs, or non-governmental organizations. From there, the NGOs subcontract vendors, like food suppliers, transportation companies, or like daycare operators, whatever, etc. They subcontract these vendors to carry out the work on the ground. On paper, it looks clean. The government pays the NGO, and the NGO delivers the services. But every extra layer makes it harder to see where the money is actually going. And according to investigators, that's where things start going sideways. And here is where it stops being isolated fraud and starts looking like a repeatable system. Once taxpayer money moves into the NGO world, investigators say several core fraud methods show up again and again. Not just in Minnesota, but nationwide. First, ghost operations. Facilities that exist on paper, but not in reality, like we've already covered. Empty daycares, vacant warehouses, offices with no staff, yet they're billing for dozens, sometimes hundreds of people being served, yet there's nobody there. Then there's inflated and fake billing. This is when NGOs submit invoices for services that were never provided. Exaggerating attendance numbers, billing for meals that were never cooked, transportation that never ran, care that never happened, so on and so forth. Next is self-dealing and insider contracts. And this is when NGO executives award contracts to their own companies, family members, or even close associates, often at wildly inflated prices, which therefore drains public money into private pockets. So they're getting stupid rich off of nonprofit organizations. Then come the subcontractor laundering chains, which is when government funds move from an NGO to a vendor to a sub-vendor to another related entity. Each layer takes their cut, and by the time the money settles, it's nearly impossible to track. But it's no longer serving the public. That point is what seems to be for damn sure, allegedly. Investigators also allege kickback schemes, which is when vendors quietly send money back to NGO leaders or insiders in exchange for guaranteed contracts or protection. The more they bill, the more everyone in the loop gets paid. Another pattern is called paper recycling. And this happens when the same individuals are running multiple nonprofits under different names. Same addresses, same staff, same phone numbers, same even EIN rotations. When one entity comes under scrutiny, another pops up, fully funded. And then there's oversight failure by design. And this, of course, is because the audits rely on self-reported data. Inspections are announced in advance. Agencies allegedly approving renewals without verifying activity. In some cases, regulators are overseeing organizations that they've previously worked for. Or wait, let me correct myself, except the work part of that thing. So they're just overseeing organizations that they've previously been a part of the fraud and scam at. So it's hey, Billy, I'm going to hire you and we're going to get in on this fraud and scamming together. And then you're going to go get a job, Billy, at the audit place so that then you can audit me and you won't get me in trouble for anything because you're in on it with me over here, dog. So you'll be my judge. I'll be the dirty person who keeps stealing all the money from the people. You'll be the dirty judge who lets me get away with it. Sorry, not really dirty judge, dirty auditor, whatever, that lets me get away with it. And then we'll both just get rich in the process. Sound great, Billy? All right, cool, let's do it. Essentially, that's what's happening in the most layman of terms. Whistleblowers say when they tried to raise alarms, they were ignored, sidelined, or even retaliated against. Complaints were stalled, reports were buried, and the funding continued. Finally, there are the allegations of money leaving the country altogether, routed through shell companies or overseas accounts, converting public funds into private wealth far beyond U.S. oversight. The end result looks the same every time. luxury cars, mansions, properties abroad, yada, yada, yada. All funded by programs meant to feed hungry kids, house veterans, or care for the disabled. And as much as I hate to admit it, this isn't about just one community, one state, or even one political party. It's about a structure that rewards opacity and punishes accountability. Now, in Minnesota, a lot of these cases involve members of the Somali community. But let's be very clear about something. This is not about ethnicity, like the Somali community is trying to claim. Because yes, they've came out and said, why are you here exploiting our businesses and putting cameras in our faces? Oh, it's because we're Somali. It's the color of our skin. Not that they've been stealing millions and billions of dollars from taxpayers' money. Literally, might as well be pickpocketing the entire American country. Nope, not that. It's the color of your skin. How did you know? Am I that obvious, dog? Damn, I thought I was a little bit slicker. Like, are we kidding? Oh my God, I cannot believe it. You think I'm lying too. Watch. Here, check it out. I'll show you.
You're making money off of sensationalizing.
That my job
and attacking the Somali community.
I'm not attacking you guys. We're asking.
I'll tell you the reason
fraud,
why this is happening.
sir.
All right, let me tell you the reason why
fraud
you're
is fraud,
this.
correct?
Yes.
This has nothing to do with race. This is fraud.
This
fraud.
Absolutely has to do with us being Muslim.
No, it does not.
All right, and us being from Africa. This is a constitutional argument. If you don't want us here, change the freedom of religion. Say, listen, we don't want Muslims in this country anymore.
We're not saying that.
No.
We're not saying that.
When I go
Sir,
onto
we're
your
talking
comments,
about fraud. When
I go onto your comments,
my comments.
What I see is people that say we do not want Muslims here. Kick every single Muslim in Minnesota out of Minnesota.
That's a comment.
You're preparing for the Somali community to maybe be taken to concentration camps, just like the Japanese community. All right, you're sensationalizing.
No, we're not.
All right,
Sir,
something that
answer
can
the question. Where is the transportation vehicle company?
Jeopardize.
Yeah. Okay. So again, let's be very clear about something here. This is not. I repeat, it is not. Has nothing to do with ethnicity. The issue is the system itself and the people taking advantage of it. These pipelines are vulnerable to anyone who knows how to exploit weak oversight. And Minnesota isn't just like an outlier. Nick Shirley's video didn't just expose one state. It showed people how and where to look. And once you know the pattern, you start seeing it everywhere. State after state, the allegations follow the same blueprint. NGOs secure grants from social services or like health programs. Costs get inflated or services get fabricated, and the money moves through contractors or layered entities. And the difference disappears. In Texas, NGOs have been accused of misusing homelessness and public health grants. Nationwide, border-related nonprofits pulled in billions for migrant services, with fraud allegations tied to transportation, housing, and logistics. Environmental groups have faced scrutiny over EPA funds, allegedly steered toward political allies under past administrations. Independent journalists, citizen investigators, and congressional probes are now pulling public records from California to New York. And they're finding the same red flags, like all over the place. Weak verification, overlapping boards, missing documentation, and billions in questioned spending. And then you start physically seeing it play out on the ground. Because now that people know what to look for, we have independent journalists going out what seems like every single day and exposing new avenues of government fraud, all involving the taxpayer dollar.
That's assault. Don't touch me. Ever since Nick Shirley has done his reporting in Minnesota, we have Iranian daycare centers in California. Over here we have 1412 South Crescent Heights, Creative Children Academy. Nobody has come in or out of this facility in 9 months. Every window is just boarded up, tinted or barred. I think that's Jamshid William.
Jamshid!
Registered owner of this property.
Jamshid.
Where's the money, Jamshid? Where did you get $3.42 million for this one facility?
Where'd you get this car from?
I understand. How did you get
property?
Yeah, did you win the law?
That's assault. Don't touch me.
Don't touch me.
Jamshid, where are the children? 96 registered children. Where are they? I don't.
Where are the children?
Hanging around.
Oh, look, he's handicapped.
How did you get?
Can you read English? This is a certificate for daycare center. This is an emblem from California.
That's from the Department of Social Services. That's how you've been getting your grant money for.
Doesn't look like the emblem.
12 entities across the Bay Area and Southern California.
I know what you're doing.
The most money you've.
I know what you're doing.
Karen Bass's government, $4.2 million just to her campaign, electoral campaign alone.
You guys are like influencing. He's trying to be lawyer, having a binder. Go back to your cockroach office.
I'm just a concerned citizen, and I want to understand, how did you get
California? Go for the.
Don't touch me. I don't know what that means.
Careful, I think he's revving up the car. Careful.
Don't run,
The money Jamshid. $40.8 million.
Keep coming back.
No, how did
What
you
do you
get? You
want
have
from
a
me?
property company?
I have family. I have children. I just have the business. I go open it at the office. They give you a certificate, and that's it.
You have a nice watch too.
How did you get the watch and the car? Did you win the lottery, or are you making $1.2 million margin
I don't
each
understand
childcare
you.
center? You've opened and closed a new child daycare center at this location alone every year from 2000.
Don't run.
Opportunity is why I came to America. Come here, look at this. You think it's cheap to bring a building up to code for opening a daycare? I'd rather buy 4 more of these ones. Look at this. This is the beautiful Rolls Royce American car. Come here. But I have to install what I have to install to become the next generational wealth person in my family. Look, our floor was falling through into the sewer. So we had to cut chick, take out the soil, do a testing of the soil because we're next to the gas station, okay?
This is not over, and we need to follow Jamshid and this entire Iranian fraud that is going on here in California. Oh my God, is that Jamshid again?
No, he assaulted me.
You want to put that aside. You want to put that aside.
I don't know what that means.
Welcome to Denver, Colorado. This is a city that has spent $405 million on homelessness, even though it has increased 150% in the last 10 years. From 2022 to 2024, $150 million is completely untracked. Donald Trump just froze $10 billion in social services to 5 Democrat-ran cities, Denver being one of them. We're here at a former DoubleTree. It is now called the Aspen, and it is managed by a non-profit located in San Francisco. They were awarded $30.4 million, and while the fraud has not been confirmed, they are known for lots of fraud. Like one time in Los Angeles, they spent $2.3 million on 88 tents. That's around $26,000 per tent, and get this, half of the tents were actually missing. They are also known for falsifying shelter exit dates and many issues with the employees, like a second-degree and attempted stealing at the encampments, as well as for promotions. Here you can see that the building, the Aspen, does look like it's operating. There's lots of homeless people moving in and out constantly, and in the area there's many homeless people as well. Oh, so you work for Urban Alchemy?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And so this is new. You guys just started this month,
we
right?
just started this month, January 1st.
Okay.
So it's fairly new, yes.
How's the occupancy?
The occupancy is great. I mean, everyone likes the meals, and they like the compassion and, you know, and the empathy, and trying to just help out a lot more people, and also just the outreach program that's here. We help out with folks that are out here and just need some food and, you know, just a little bit of love.
Yeah. We are now in Fort Morgan, Colorado at the Cargill Meat Factory, where 20 to 30% of their workforce is Somalian. They actually have prayer rooms inside since 2009. And in 2015, a group of 200 Somalians were fired because they kept leaving the production line. This was against USDA's regulations of needing a continuous production in order to not have contamination within the meat. But this group of Somalians decided to sue for discrimination, and this company ended up settling the lawsuit with $1.5 million in payouts to 138 people. The Council on American Islamic Relations helped them file this lawsuit, which to me sounds completely insane because they were trying to have 11 people leave the production line all at once. And it just makes me think, how come we cannot say it is
a part of our religion to just have a nap time?
Like I said, now that they know the formula and like where to look for it and what to look for, it's very easy to spot. And it seems like every day, every time I get on social media, I'm seeing a new video of somebody else in a different state exposing government fraud and like blatant government fraud. It's asinine, but also like strangely makes me feel comforted. Obviously, I don't want to have them be like ripping us off for the past like however long, decades upon decades upon decades. But I'm so glad that we, the people, are finally standing together and not only seeing it for what it is, but calling it out. Like, kudos to us, okay? Now, let me tell you exactly some of these examples that I've seen, independent journalists outing on social media in the past few days. A defense contractor called TGV Rockets reportedly received roughly $4 million in Department of Defense innovation grants for hypersonic technology. Yet videos from independent journalists show the listed address as a rundown house behind a 7-Eleven with no visible operations.
We're walking up to a place that's a TGV rocket company. So apparently these people build rockets. They've gone over $4 million from the government, and it's ran by a guy named Pat Bond. Now, this to me does not look like a rocket company. This apparently is a $4 million rocket company according to the DoD. Now, who approves this?
And we're in a Hub C zone. Fabian, what is a Hub C zone?
So a Hub C zone, according to the SBA, is a zone that's not really built up. That's more, as you can see, run down. So they give preferential treatment for grants to companies that are set up in these zones. So we don't even know if the guy even lives here, if he's renting it out to someone and he just owns the place. But technically it's a rocket company that's rented out to other tenants, which makes it even weirder if that's the case.
The thing that really pisses off a lot of people, obviously, is that places like this shouldn't be receiving $4 million of taxpayers' money to say that they create rockets in places like this. And we know for a fact that an individual receives one grant after another. This isn't a one-time grant. This is one grant after another phase one grants. And the goal of the phase one grants is they give you about $200,000 or so just to get into phase two and to say that you've developed what you needed to in phase one so you can get the larger sum of money. So obviously that place is located right next to a 7-Eleven, and you know better than anybody if they were actually manufacturing any types of rockets, it'd be such a massive safety hazard. Obviously this is blatant fraud. Your neighbor, do you ever notice that they make like rockets there or anything?
This company got $4.18 million. This is considered a Hub Z owned, which means that you get preferential treatments for grants because you're in a zone that's basically in the ghetto.
It's a little strange. It raises so many more questions than answers, right? This part of town, we're looking around constantly, seeing what's happening. So it's a lot of questions, a lot of strangeness. It's great that we're out here.
Yeah, it's crazy. Then in California, the West Los Angeles VA campus, which is an area of 388 acres originally deeded to care for disabled veterans, was leased out to private interests like university facilities, oil drilling, and luxury developments, while homeless veterans camped outside the gates in tents on the sidewalk.
I've just discovered one of the largest cases of homeless fraud in California. There's all of this land in West LA that is, by law, supposed to go to housing veterans, except now they're making billions of dollars leasing it out to rich elites and mega corporations. It says right here in the original deed that the land must be used to permanently maintain a home for disabled soldiers. Well, tell me, does this look like veterans housing? We got a UCLA baseball stadium. We got an oil drilling company. We have a movie studio and a bunch of other illegal uses of this land. Anyway, I've been putting together this documentary with the help of Mr. Checkpoint, and it exposes this entire multi-billion-dollar scheme and who's behind it. The time has come to expose these fraudsters. Here's a little preview.
This man is incompetent. This man is incompetent.
What you're telling me is that you're prepared to move trash, but you're not prepared to move disabled veterans. That is what you guys are telling me. That is what your highly funded department is telling me.
A sprawling 388-acre parcel of land located in West Los Angeles, beginning at the corner of Wilshire and San Vicente Boulevards, represents one of the most valuable and contested pieces of real estate in the United States. It is also the site of a major crime scene, a case of staggering fraud of the highest magnitude. Originally deeded in 1888 by private philanthropists as a permanent sanctuary for disabled soldiers, the land has been systematically stripped of its noble purpose over the last half century through a combination of bureaucratic negligence, legislative maneuvering, and outright criminal corruption, and transformed from a home for veterans into a playground for the neighboring elite and a revenue engine for commercial interests. For example, UCLA runs a massive multi-million-dollar baseball complex here. The students of the ultra-exclusive Brentwood School play tennis and swim in Olympic-sized swimming pools here. Even an oil company drills for profit here. Meanwhile, on the sidewalks just outside the gates, veterans of the United States Armed Forces sleep in squalid tents, dying of exposure and neglect on the doorstep of the land that they are legally entitled to.
Not to mention, they've gotten like $24 million. California has gotten like $24 million to like combat the homelessness problem. Yet the homelessness has risen. Homeless numbers have risen in California.
California spent $24 billion on homelessness. $24 billion. And you know what happened? The homeless population went up. More tents, more encampments, more people dying on the streets than ever before. So I started asking, where did the money go? Because now LA is under federal investigation for homeless fraud and corruption.
Even though the developer received all the money from the state, the developer did not complete the construction.
Let's play a little game. Let's play follow the money. Gavin Newsom made homelessness his signature issue. Billions in spending press, conferences, bold promises. We're going to solve this, is what he said. So what happened? In 2022, the California State Auditor released a bombshell report. They tracked $24 billion in homeless spending across 5 years. What did they find? The state had no idea where the money went. No tracking system, no accountability measures, no way to measure if any of it actually worked.
$24 billion in tax money on the homeless crisis, and they are just beginning to audit the programs.
$24 billion taxpayer dollars, and they couldn't tell you if it helped a single homeless person off the streets. But that's not even the worst part. Steve Hilton called it the homeless industrial complex. Here's how California homeless spending actually works.
And it just keeps getting worse, Pete. Right, Trace? 3 data points. California is 10% of the country's population, 30% of the country's homelessness, and 50% of the country's what we call unhoused homeless, those who are living in these encampments, those who are living on the street. This is a real policy failure, and it starts with the governor as well as our mayors here.
The state gives billions to counties, counties give it to cities, cities give it to nonprofits, nonprofits give it to subcontractors, and somewhere along the way, the money disappears. Administrative costs, executive salaries, consultants, conferences, overhead. Everyone gets paid except the people sleeping on the street. California Underground reported that Los Angeles spent over $800,000 per homeless housing unit. $800,000 for a single unit. Now, you know what you could buy for $800,000? A house. An actual house. But they spent it on one unit, and the homeless population still went up. And here's what makes this criminal. Now, the feds are involved. LA is under federal investigation for homeless fraud and corruption. The FBI is asking the same question we've been asking. Where the hell did the money go? This isn't speculation. LA City Council members have already gone down. Bribery, fraud, corruption, exposed.
If the powerful and privileged in this city can violate the law with impunity, what does that say to the rest of us in Los Angeles?
The homeless money was a slush fund, pay to play, contracts going to connected developers, consulting fees going to political friends. California Underground covered it. 253,000 people watched the video because they knew something was wrong. Now here's the scheme. Developer donates to politician. Politician approves homeless housing. Developer gets the contract, charges $800,000 per unit, builds almost nothing, and everybody gets rich. The homeless person, well, he's still on the street. Stay tuned because it gets even worse. It's not just in Los Angeles. San Francisco down the street spent $1.1 billion on homelessness in 1 year. One city, $1 billion. Homeless population? There's poop maps to prove it's still growing. Sacramento, San Diego, Oakland, same story everywhere. California's homeless crisis is exposed everywhere. And still, no statewide investigation, no accountability, no consequences. Now, let me show you how California's homeless housing actually gets built. Los Angeles voters passed Proposition HHH, $1.2 billion for homeless housing. They promised 10,000 units. 10,000 homeless housing units. Years later, exposed, less than 2,000 units built, average cost $600,000 to $800,000 per unit, 6 times what normal housing costs. The money went to consultants, administrators, environmental impact reports, permitting delays. Everyone got paid. The homeless, well, they got nothing.
Where 80% of the people actually end up returning to the street instead of getting the help that they need.
And here's the part that makes me sick. While politicians spent $800,000 per unit, homeless deaths hit record highs. In LA County alone, over 2,000 homeless people dying on sidewalks while billions sit in program bank accounts.
Right now, 37 people on average every month are dying of overdose inside SROs, or what they call permanent supportive housing, in our city.
That's California's homeless crisis.
Like, what? Like, it's everywhere. It is literally as far as the eye can see. A federal appeals court has now ordered the VA to build over 2,500 supportive housing units and end those non-veteran leases, which never should have even been like started in the first place. And these examples keep coming.
Right behind me in this beautiful building, it's actually the Peachtree Pine homeless shelter that was closed almost 10 years ago in 2017, but there's still some weird stuff happening here.
The weird thing that's happening here is that, again, according to Georgia registration rules, people are still registered to vote from this exact same location.
No one is living in it. Everything's boarded up. It says private property. There's gates. There's a fence over the gates. The window's broken. We took a peep inside from this vantage point, and there was no one in there. I mean, I would love to even, maybe we can walk around and see, where would someone actually even drop off ballots here?
That's a good question. Why don't we actually go do that? Yeah. Let's walk around and see what's going on.
Danger. Do not enter. It just doesn't make sense.
It just doesn't make sense.
It just doesn't make logical sense unless you do it on purpose. So what we've done is we've now walked across the entire building, and this is the last part of the building. And as you can see, it's completely boarded off. So for anyone saying, well, they might still be doing something there, imagine how much this is happening in other places, not just here, right? California, Minneapolis, like any blue state, I assume they've replicated this exact same model in all of those places.
It is absolutely insane. Like, I could literally keep mentioning these all day long. But like, at a certain point, this stops sounding like a conspiracy and starts sounding like a pattern.
You think you understand political parties? You're all full of crap. You don't know what the Illuminati is. If you're Republican or you're Democrat, you're wrong. Why? It's this easy. It's called divide and conquer. That's why there's 2 parties and only 2. And they're controlled by the same people at the very top who belong to the Council on Foreign Relations, the Bilderberger Group. They also belong to the Trilateral Commission, and you people don't even know what the hell that is. But if you did know, you would know that these are the people that control your world by making global policies that you never vote on, and by which parties both serve and belong to these organizations and control your world. Now, here's how it works. Really easy. Divide and conquer can only work if the people that are divided are not aware of the falsely created division. If you're not aware of it, then it works. If you know about it, then it don't work no more. If you have socialism without capitalism, it becomes communism.
So what can actually be done to like shut this down and make sure that our government never has this much unchecked power again? The good news is none of these ideas are like pie in the sky. They are already being talked about by auditors, whistleblowers, and even some lawmakers. We just need to apply the pressure to make them happen. First, we'd have to mandate real-time transparency on every dollar. Like, every grant-funded address would get GPS-tracked activity logs. Doors open, lights on, and power usage spikes when the place is supposed to be running full tilt. Make it public. Make everything public. Anyone with a phone should be able to cross-check that this daycare is pulling in $200,000 a month, but the utility bills shows that it's been dark for weeks. We need this, like, immediately. No more waiting 3 years for an audit that might never come. Or that might come once it's been audited by somebody who's involved in the scam. Secondly, we would need to open the data floodgates. I'm talking turn every grant database into a live, searchable portal. Let citizens, journalists, and even like AI tools cross-reference claims against satellite imagery, property records, employee rosters, and even like social media check-ins. If a quote-unquote veteran rehab center has 0 Google reviews and no one's ever posted from inside the building, then the red flags would light up instantly. No more getting away with this shit for years. Third, ban self-certification. No more letting NGOs or contractors rubber stamp their own invoices. Require independent third-party auditors who actually show up on site for like random unannounced visits paid for by the grant recipient, not the taxpayers. And these inspections need to be random, not like pre-planned ahead of time. If they can't prove that the kids were there, or that the rockets were built, or like the train tracks were laid, etc., then the money stops. Outright. No questions asked. You can't prove what we've given you money for, you don't get any more money. Period. Fourth, make oversight hurt. Tie funding to performance penalties. Miss a surprise inspection? Well, now you're going to lose 20% of your next pay. Get caught with ghost services? Well, my friends, that's an automatic clawback plus a 5-year ban from any more federal grants. Because when the bank account feels the pain, behavior will change fast. Make like real repercussions for like committing fraud against the American taxpayer. Let's not just have them get off scot-free with no like accountability. Let's make them actually scared to do this, and I guarantee it would stop. And finally, the big one. Sunset clauses on every grant program, period. No more open-ended billions flowing forever. Every 5 years, Congress should have to reauthorize or kill it. Force a real debate about whether it's still working or it's just another money funnel. That alone would force accountability back into the system. And I'm sorry, but in my opinion, these aren't radical ideas. The way I see it, they're common sense guardrails that used to exist in some form before the grant explosion and before everybody started getting rich off the American taxpayer. The only thing missing is the public outrage to demand them. And once enough people see the receipts and start asking why their tax dollars are vanishing into empty buildings, well, that builds pressure fast. Now, I hate being the bearer of bad news, but complex scams like this only die under daylight or when like attention and like focus is shined on them. So watch the clips, dig into the grants, follow the money, tag your friends, like do it all. Because if we don't ask now, who will? So let's zoom out and talk about what this actually means for like the average person watching this. Because this isn't just about fraud numbers or NGOs or like spreadsheets. This affects everyone. Even people who like the government. Even like goody two-shoes who believe in paying taxes, who want to do like the quote-unquote right thing and would never believe a single conspiracy theory they ever come across. When fraud like this keeps getting exposed, day after day, state by state, something changes in people's minds. At first, it's anger. Then, it's disbelief. And eventually, it turns into distrust. And like rightfully so. Because once you see billions of dollars meant for kids, veterans, healthcare, and housing being siphoned off, you start asking a simple question. Why am I paying into a system that doesn't protect my money? Or me? And like, let's just be real for a second. There is not a single person on this earth who genuinely believes that the government can spend their money better than they can. People are struggling to pay rent. They're skipping meals. They're working full-time and still find themselves falling behind. Meanwhile, we keep seeing politicians, contractors, and insiders getting rich off programs that were supposed to help the most vulnerable American citizens. And that disconnect doesn't just disappear. it compounds. Historically, it always has. The Boston Tea Party didn't happen because people hated taxes in general. It happened because they believed that they were being taxed without representation, over a few percentage points. Now imagine how they would react if they believed that millions upon billions of dollars were being taken from them and wasted, misused, or outright stolen to make like government officials stupid fucking rich. While we have people that are like starving and don't have homes. And all of it happening with no accountability. And that, my friends, is exactly why you're seeing very serious conversations about a potential 2026 tax strike. No fringe talk, not memes, just regular people, online, at rallies, and even across political lines, openly saying, I don't trust where my money is going. And whether anyone like really agrees with that idea or not, the implications are massive. Because if trust in taxation collapses, the entire system feels it.
In light of this big socialist shift in big cities and the rampant fraud reports out of states like Minnesota, more Americans are voicing growing outrage, and they're wondering why they're paying taxes at all. Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene wrote, almost every Trump voter I see on X is so fed up that they are planning a 2026 tax revolt. Americans barely make ends meet, and the government consistently gives their hard-earned tax dollars to foreign countries, foreign wars, and foreigners the U.S. government has brought and allowed into America.
I just got off work, and it dawned on me that 30% of everything I made today probably went to some stupid scam. These people clearly have no regard for the American taxpayer whatsoever. Until this stops, none of us should be paying tax dollars. Like, just go after the fraudsters and get our money back.
This is not just about money being stolen anymore. It's about a growing feeling that being a good citizen, being a hardworking person, paying your taxes may not be worth it. This kind of feeling shapes culture.
Go to work, go be a slave, go get stolen from, go fund terrorism, go fund illegal aliens to go live off of your back. Have a great time today. Have an amazing Monday being a slave in your own country, actively getting replaced, and our elected officials are doing absolutely nothing about it.
Of course, the federal government reminds everyone that tax evasion is a crime.
It's only the second day of the new year, and the 2026 tax revolt is already underway. That's right. People don't want to pay taxes anymore because they don't trust the way the government is spending and tracking our money. The nail in the coffin was obviously the Somalian daycare fraud, but the Pentagon just failed their financial audit for their 8th year in a row. Can you imagine if you did that? No, because you'd be in prison, have all your assets seized, and not be able to take out a loan. According to several reports, the daycare fraud in Minnesota alone is estimated around $9 billion. And President Trump said that the fraud in California is even worse. And I'm just curious, why didn't DOJ catch this? Every year, American taxpayers give the U.S. government about $5 trillion in taxes. To celebrate this, today, our U.S. national debt reaches an all-time high of $38.5 trillion. Just as a fun little comparison, this is Dubai 2 days ago on New Year's Eve, one of the most advanced cities in the world. Look at this. It's beautiful. And how much do their citizens pay in taxes per year? That would be a whopping 0%. Do you think anything's going to come of this, or do you think people are just frustrated and airing their grievances online? Because it's going to be a situation where everybody stops paying taxes, or only a few people do, and then they incur penalties and interest.
So one thing I'm really curious about, there is a proposed tax strike going on right now on Twitter that a lot of people are saying, hey, we shouldn't pay our taxes because all of it's going to waste. What are your thoughts on a tax strike?
Yeah, I mean, the Boston Tea Party, they freaked out because of just a few percentages. We're paying 40, 30, 20, some people are paying 50% of taxes of their dollars to the government. So, I don't think it's a bad thing. It wouldn't be anything new for America, but the problem is they'll imprison you if you don't pay your taxes. But if you're a politician who allows $9 billion of fraud, nothing happens.
See, how do you explain to the taxpayer the discrepancy when they want to track Venmo payments of more than $600, but there is so much fraud going on every day that you could blatantly see. How do you explain that to the taxpayer in terms of a discrepancy of like, we want to track this, but there's so much just wasted?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like shameful how much money we give to taxes, and I'm not into the nitty gritty of the IRS. I'm not a tax person. I'm not a CPA, but I just know that we pay way too much taxes.
And what happens to a society if people stop believing that their tax dollars are going to the right places?
You're seeing it right now. People are very upset. Like you said, people are attempting to go on a tax strike. And it'd be amazing if we could actually do something. And people are so mad at Trump for putting tariffs on other countries. And the whole goal is eventually to kind of instead of have the IRS have a different way of funding for our country.
There was a really interesting tweet that said that roughly $1.5 trillion a year is wasted due to fraud or overspending. And that if we could just get rid of that, you could literally implement no income tax on all income under $650,000 a year.
I believe
just get rid of the waste and the fraud.
Yeah, I 100% believe it. And why should the government be paying for people's lifestyles? Why should they be paying for giving people millions of dollars? Why should they be giving people millions of dollars where they're churning profit for systems like daycare centers? If anything, it should just be a nonprofit.
Do you think that the fraud is partisan? That one side engages in more fraud than the other?
Yes, 100%.
And how do you know that?
Just look at Minnesota, look at California. There's fraud in all 50 states. But you're seeing massive fraud take place inside of these states. For instance, just with the illegal immigration fraud that took place when we started letting in millions of people inside the United States. That was a total left-wing issue. Democrats were flying people in, literally flying them into the United States.
So how is that fraud to let in immigrants?
So when we talk about like spending, then they're giving the money to the NGOs. And so
explain an NGO.
Yeah, so an NGO is a non-government organization. And in California, for instance, you'll see a ton of NGOs. And I even had a mayor of a California town tell me why they create these NGOs. So for instance, say you're going to run for office and you need campaign money and you're currently in office, but you're going to need more money for your next campaign. Well, you go and tell somebody, hey, go start this NGO. We're going to give you the money. Once the money's sent over to you, we'll get it back into our hands for the campaign. And so then they're then able, this is allegedly, because I don't want to get sued, but that's one of the ways why you see so many NGOs. And that's why, for instance, the migrant crisis, people were making millions and millions of dollars off of that migrant crisis.
Now, when you expose all the fraud, are you worried about getting sued or being dragged into a lawsuit that could take a long time and cost a lot of money?
They'll have to defend themselves as well. They'll have to prove that they're a legit business. So Quality Learning Center, they can't prove they're a legit business because they're a fraudulent business.
Here's what could be the potential, though.
I should start saying allegedly a little bit more.
Maybe. But the issue that you run into is someone could just say, hey, I'm going to sue you for saying this, for defamation. The damage is $100 million. And because we have so much money behind us, we're just going to drag it out for years. And so we're going to cost you $500,000. And either you have to pay it or, hey, we just settle and you give us $50,000 and you agree not to talk about us. How are you planning to combat that if someone were to sue you?
Yeah. So when did journalism become criminal? Too. Like, that's a whole other thing of it's like, I'm a journalist. I go out and show people what's happening. And, do you think like CNN, they came after me yesterday and it's like, okay, they're like, are you 100% sure about, your video? I said, well, I presented you how it was. You can go ahead and make your own analysis. And she said, well, are you 100% sure? I said, yeah, I am sure. And then someone comments like, hey, were you guys 100% true about Russiangate, about mass immigration, about COVID? Were you guys 100% true about all these other things? So it's like, how can...
Well, the unfortunate aspect with lawsuits is that you can make any claim you want to, even if it's completely false, and then it's up to the other person to defend themselves legally, which costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
At that point, it really just becomes a battle of money, of just who has more resources to bully the other person.
Yeah, it is scary.
But I have a feeling if in the event you get hit with a lawsuit that you would be able to basically just post on Twitter, and I bet someone would be willing to either give you free legal service or fund it.
Yeah, because I think, like, for instance, the Minnesota stuff, it's fraud. Like, if someone wants to try and sue me for that, they're going to have to prove that they're not fraudulent.
Did you see that over 40 centers opened up on the same day, actually, linked to the same inactive shell company?
Yeah, there's massive fraud in Minnesota. Inside of one building I went to, there was 14 home healthcare businesses, and then inside of another one, there was 22. If you're a business, why would you have all of your competitors in the same business as you? Like, there's no need for the fraud that's taking place in Minnesota.
So what do you think is wrong with traditional journalism?
One is they go through all this stuff. It's like the same reason why like going to college is almost a disadvantage these days, I feel like, because you're having these professors teach you about marketing. Meanwhile, they've never received 100 million views on a social media page. And that's where our future is through social media. And so with the mainstream media, I mean, they're defending fraud right now versus they're investigating the person who's found fraud instead of investigating the people that are committing the fraud. Like me and other people like myself, we're the biggest threat to them because we're doing what they can't. In mainstream media, they have all these editorial rooms. They have people above that are paying for them. They have all this stuff going on where they just can't go from phone, editing, to publishing. They have to go to phone, editing, editor look at it, make sure it looks good, make sure the higher ups approve of it, and then we publish the video. And if they speak out against it, we saw people like, for instance, Sage Steele for ESPN. She spoke out against some stuff that happened. They then fired her. So people don't feel like they can speak freely on the internet or on these mainstream platforms.
Do you think that mainstream media will end up dying 100%?
No, not completely, because you still do have maybe like 100 years from now, yes. But for the next 20 years or so, you'll still see these companies because a lot of these billionaires are operating them, so they can just continue to embezzle money into these mainstream news media, like these news companies. And so they'll be able to continue to operate. But you'll see people lose less and less trust. I believe after my Minnesota video, the trust for the mainstream media went down to the all-time low.
Now, let me be stupid clear here. This is not me telling anyone to break the law. It's me pointing out a warning sign. If the government doesn't get its shit together, and I mean fast, but not just stopping the fraud, I mean actually making it right for the American people who've been financially robbed and lied to for decades. Because if not, that resentment won't stay quiet forever. When everyday people are busting their asses at work, but they still can't feed their kids, can't pay their bills, and can visibly see corruption enriching those in power, I don't even have to tell you what they would do. Because history shows us that pressure, it doesn't just fade away. You don't need agitators. You don't need radicals. All you need is enough people who feel betrayed.
But here's what you can do. And this is bold. And it's totally legal, by the way. You get a W-2, right? Go to your HR department on Monday and tell them that you don't want to withhold any federal taxes from your payroll. Now, look, put those in a separate account because you're still going to probably have to pay them at the end of the year, unless Trump takes my idea and pardons every citizen for not paying taxes in 2026. But you would break the trend of not giving the government an interest-free loan on your income for an entire year. You can just pay it at the end of the year when you do your taxes in April of 27. A few million productive citizens do that. I bet the Treasury starts panicking, but we get their attention real quick. Folks, just so you know, I don't just come on here also and talk about this. When I get done with this show for an hour on the train and when I get home, I'm taking clips of what we talked about and showing them your sentiment of the tweets and things that you send me. And I send them directly to congressmen and senators and governors and sometimes even the president's staff so they know how we feel. I feel like a conduit of you. And the more you folks share this stuff, go on social media and follow me on Instagram and Twitter or X or whatever it's called, and share this stuff. Force them to listen. Because I'm done supporting empty promises. Let these people who have worked in D.C. for decades know that it's time to do real stuff, like repeal the 16th Amendment. I mean, just put it up for a vote. Why not? Get people on the record. Who's for and against taxing you? Just start doing stuff. Because this last year has been Congress's least effective year in my lifetime.
And that's where we are right now. Exposing light on the situation is the only thing that stops this. Accountability is the only off-ramp. And the longer it's delayed, the harder the landing gets. So watch the clips, read the records, and follow the money. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Now, you guys already know the deal. We have officially made it to the end of this video. I really appreciate everybody who stuck around until the end. Seriously, I appreciate the hell out of your time. So, thank you so much. All important sources that I used in finding information for this video will be listed in the description. Any videos that were included in the video and the creator tags for those videos will be always on screen while that video is showing. So if you want to know where to find a specific video, just go back to the time when that video was playing, and the creator's tag will be on screen in the bottom right hand corner, just so you guys can like investigate all of this craziness for yourselves. And if you've got any like firsthand experience or documents or proof that I didn't include in this video, please drop them below. Like, I would love to see it. I would love to hear it. What did you guys think about this topic? Have you been noticing, like, every single day, pretty much, it seems like a new independent journalist is online exposing more government corruption involving taxpayer dollars? Because, like, I swear it's every day. It's crazy. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up because I don't think I have anything else to ramble about. Do me a favor and smash the hell out of the like button if you didn't already. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, come on over and get subscribed to the channel, and make sure you hit that little bell icon. So hopefully, fingers crossed, you'll get notified whenever I upload new videos just like this. And if you stuck around all the way until the end, you already know you're the real one. I love you so much. Do me a favor and drop a comment saying TMJ down in the comments, just so I know that you made it to the end of the video. Why not? It's nothing related to this topic, so I'll know for sure that that's why you're commenting it. But all right, I'm gonna go ahead and jump on out of here. Just stay informed, stay vigilant, and watch out for each other. Maybe look into some NGOs and follow the money in your own town, and just go check it out in person and see, does it look like the place that they're saying it is? Because once you see this formula, it's real easy to find it in real life. It's crazy to me how so many of them are following the exact same blueprint. Dude, you just never thought we were gonna see this, did you? Because once you see one, it's oh, there's another, there's another, there's another, there's another. They're all using the same blueprint. It's so easy to find them now. So it's y'all weren't even trying to hide this. It was as soon as one comes out, the rest of you are just going down with it, huh? Craziness. I just can't even believe it. Nuts, nuts, nuts. Anyways, I have two phenomenal deep dive video topics in mind that I'm going to work on in my next two videos after this one, and then maybe we'll throw a reaction one in there. Not like a typical reaction, just me presenting multiple theories at in short intervals, and you guys can decide from there where you want to go. But anyways, that's not going to be there for a minute because I have two more deep dives I want to get into before then, because they're just great topics and I just really want to get into them. I don't even want to ruin them or spoil them because I don't want anybody else to jack them. Because I think they're great. So I'm excited for them. Anyways, I said I had nothing else to ramble about, and now here I am rambling away. I'm hopping on out of here. I love you all so much. Seriously, thank you so fucking much for your time. Drop a comment saying TMJ if you made it to the end of the video. And until next time, I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!